Today, we are talking about something that we talk about once, maybe twice a year, because folks just don't know. What don't they know, GC?
They don't know that you can invest in real estate inside your retirement account.
Inside your retirement account. We're talking about within your IRA, within those pre-tax dollars that you may or may not have already earned from an employer contributing things. You don't have to take money out of these other savings account just to invest in real estate, but you can also do it a bunch of other days within it where you can do different things. We're going to get into all of it. Self-directed IRAs, non-recourse loans, all the terminology that I had no idea what it meant 5 years ago. And now I happen to, just because I host this show, and we're going to share it with you. Welcome everybody to the Not Your Average Investor Show weekly edition, not necessarily in that order. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me in studio, the guy that I affectionately like to call GC, because he's a great co-host. He knows how to generate cash flow. He's God, man, general conversationalist. I'm missing. He's got this gator outfit. His name is Gregg. He knows how to generate cash flows. He's got genius concepts. He's a great co-host, and his name is Gregg Cohen. Say hello, Gregg.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you. Good to be with you, brother.
It's great to be with you too, buddy. If you're like, this is your first time showing up to the show, I promise you that I generally start off much more articulately, and that's why he is laughing at me.
You know, over the past week, we really had such a wonderful time meeting new friends from a few different audiences. So from the Cash Flow Tactics group who came to Jacksonville, and we hosted an event this week.
Yeah.
And then I flew from our event here over to Dallas to go and speak to the Kingdom 320 group. So I would hope that there are some friends that have made their way to the show from those two audiences. Just amazing groups. So happy to be aligned with them.
Welcome. GC worldwide. When's your next tour, GC?
I don't know. You know, I can't really travel and speak too well. I mean, it takes a lot out of me. So
it's weird for me to see you speaking on stages without me there.
I tell you what, I'm not built for it. So I'm excited to be home.
Yeah, for everybody, it's so obvious that Gregg is an amazing speaker, and yet he is terrified of it, but he does it anyways.
Hey, you know what? You got to push through, right?
Love of the game, baby.
There we go.
Love of the game.
You guys make it easy.
You make it easy. You make it easy. Speaking of making things easy, when someone brings a question to the show, we try to answer. We have a question outstanding from Jeffrey Wonder that you had promised him a response on, GC, and his question was, is it normal for Florida insurance companies to mandate minimum amount required for hazard insurance? What'd you find out, GC?
Well, just to kind of clarify, hazard insurance isn't actually required when you purchase a property. It's not actually required in the state of Florida, but it is something you typically get. That's because the lender who is lending money on the asset will require it. And so they'll typically require hazard insurance up to the amount of your replacement cost. So just a simple, quick answer, but Jeff did ask this question. We didn't have time to get to it on the last show and just wanted to make sure that you guys know. When you guys ask me questions and I don't know the answer, I write them down and we come back to you.
Show me a little notebook.
Look at that notebook. It's blank right now. Any questions, you can stump me right now and I'll get back to you.
The questions, fill it up. Fill up the pages, baby. All right, what else, GC? We got some breaking news today, too.
You know, we've been blessed to win a few awards for the JWB team here, so I did want to kind of share the news there. JWB was voted one of the best companies to work for in Florida. Super excited out of the awards that we have been blessed to win. This is the award that we care the most about because it is shining a light on our team and our culture. Florida Trend Magazine honored us. This is the 11th time that we have won this award. So again, so excited. And I think it just kind of reinforces what we believe is the most important part of your investment, which is the team and the culture. So excited about that. And then locally here, the Jacksonville Business Journal put together a top 10 list of the largest builders in Jacksonville. And, you know, as we sell rental properties, we build rental properties, we do all these things. We don't think of ourselves as a standalone builder. But when you start to think about us building 400 homes a year, it's interesting to think about how we stack up if all we did was just be a builder. Well, we are ranked the 6th largest home builder in Northeast Florida just by itself.
First, let's talk about the best places to work awards. That is something that as I have, you know, now that I'm in this like property management world and I'm meeting a whole bunch of other property managers, right? Like the front row seat I have had at the master class of how JWB operates as a business is something that has profoundly affected my life. And I'm now like, I spend all my time talking about the way that you guys run a company. And I know that there's nothing more powerful than having A players on your team. It is something
gosh.
that I have learned. So the idea that you have created a talent destination inside of a little old real estate company in Jacksonville, Florida, I think it speaks volumes, and you've really ingrained in me the idea that winning this award really means everything because of what it means to your clients.
100%. At the end of the day, I think that's something that unites all of us as people is we are drawn to become a part of something bigger than ourselves. And when you can match a mission with a wonderful work environment, you've created something really special. And that's what we have very intentionally created here at JWB. And that's why we have such amazing people that get to serve you. So yes, that award it puts a stamp on that and says, you know what, we did something right every single year that we win it. And we love it. And we love to share it with you.
For me as a client, I'll tell you that award is the reason why I call this thing the Chick-fil-A or the In-N-Out burger of real estate investing, right? Like there is no way that you can interact with anybody that gets a paycheck from JWB and not walk away in a better mood than you started.
Thanks,
so I just think that's huge. Second, sixth largest home builder in Northeast Florida. That's one of those things that exactly what you said. I was like, you guys are a builder?
I know, right?
I mean, for a while I was like, I look back at one of our first property. Actually, I look back at the Fan Appreciation Award, the first Fan Appreciation show that we said, you're like, who was going to listen to a podcast about property management? I was like, we're talking about property management?
I know, right?
I thought we were talking about real estate investing. But at the end of the day, you guys are, it's become very obvious to me that you guys are one of the 10 biggest property management companies in the United States within just like part of your operation as an overall real estate investing company. Now you're also the sixth biggest builder in Northeast Florida. It's another one of those like, man, this flywheel that you guys have created where you not just continue to vertically integrate, but you spin off different ways that create risk mitigation in revenue creation and in the experience of the client by being able to control the whole process by building these giant operations that are just one piece of your machine is one of the reasons why I compare you guys to a Netflix or to an Amazon much more than the company next door, because that's what these companies do, right? Like Amazon started selling books and now they're one of the greatest. They're the biggest like cloud services provider.
Right.
They have like a logistics operation that other people leverage. You guys are doing the same thing within your business, just four dudes from Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, and it's just all to serve. It's all to serve our clients and our residents. And, there's certain things that you just need to control. You need to control this. If I'm going to create a great experience for you as a turnkey rental property investor, I need to control the build, right? I need to make sure that, number one, we have enough homes that are available for clients to be able to invest in. And I need to make sure that they're built to a very high standard and that the maintenance is going to be low and that everything that goes along with actually building the asset. So, as our numbers have grown, we the numbers aren't the things that get me excited. It's the experience that we create by doing, this number of home builds. But it is nice to be recognized and just kind of think about it in a certain silo of just being a home builder and say, what, we can kind of stack up with the big boys here, even though that's not our goal.
Yeah, totally. You talk a lot about experience, and staying in the game is the reason why people succeed in real estate. When I think of it as a customer of JWB, I think of purchasing power, right? Like I think of what we talk about all the time. Hey, I used to be in construction. When hurricanes were coming to Miami, our biggest client were the ones that were getting the preferred service before and after the storm.
Yeah.
Our biggest clients are the ones getting the best price before, after the storm. Our biggest clients are the ones that get the best crews, at all times. So like, to me, this capacity that you've built around becoming this big a builder, the fact that you spent, is it still $7 million in construction a month?
Yeah.
That's a really big bill. And that's a really big kind of like, economies of scale that you wield in favor of us who do business with you.
100%. It goes right to those clients. It's how we get lower costs for you on your maintenance items. It is a direct reflection of how we lower maintenance and vacancy cost on your property management. And of course, those economies of scale can matter, especially when, we have a big job to do to keep those costs low. So there you go.
All right, man. Well, enough about me gushing about how great of a businessman you and your partners are. Let's get to the topic du jour, Greg.
Let's do it.
Do you know what that is?
It's the topic of the day.
It's French. Reggie Ponce would know that. Investing in a retirement account,
right?
GC. I'm not going to pretend like I don't know what it is these days.
Okay.
But I remember the first time I heard it, I was just like, investing, I can buy real estate. I had only heard of people taking out loans against their 401k to use that loan to buy something.
Sure.
That's not that. That's not what we're talking about today.
No,
Tell me what are we talking about today?
We are literally talking about how your retirement account can own rental properties or can invest in real estate in a number of different ways. Actually, inside your retirement account, it could be a replacement for the things that you are currently investing inside your retirement account. And you can do this without paying any penalties. You can do this without having to pay the taxes before you want to. It is just an asset that is available to be invested in inside your retirement accounts. It's not illegal. It is totally fine to do. It is just not well known, and it's not traditional. It's not what average investors do. But what we have seen and what I have personally invested in and what we have seen with clients is that you can do some amazing things to diversify within your retirement accounts by owning single family rental properties or investing in real estate, or really there's a number of things you can invest in your retirement accounts. It's not just limited to real estate. So you just open your minds a little bit. Hopefully today is a beginning of a conversation and probably leads to a little bit more due diligence for you. But that's really what we want to shine a light on today, is that you can do this. You can do this inside your retirement accounts with no penalties.
It's funny, man. When I hear someone say it's not illegal, you can do this, I'm like, well, you're shady.
I know, right? I don't know how else to say it. I'm like,
the origin of the story of that, right? You were talking about how, like, when you first started, your dad was like, this is illegal, you can't do this, or something like that, right?
I mean, a lot of people said that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because people throw that that out there, I think, to scare a lot of people. You know what people told us before we were signing 2 and 3 year leases?
That it was illegal?
It was illegal. People would tell us that it was illegal to sign 2 and 3 year leases, and we've signed, like 900 this year and signed thousands each year. So, and people will say that about investing in your retirement account as well. And it's certainly not illegal.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Anyways, this is a tried and true mechanism that you have been doing for 20 years.
Yes.
You have hundreds, if not, I mean, I know that you guys have thousands of clients. I don't want to say thousands doing this right now, but you have a large percentage of your clientele that does this.
Yeah.
Bobby Montgomery just said it in the chat. He just set something like that up. I know Lee Bishop got into famous MVP Lee Bishop. Right. He got into it doing this stuff, right? So let's just explain it. Why don't we, GC?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I hear investing inside of a retirement account, the first thing that I think of explaining is this is money that you invested, that you put away before paying taxes on it, right? Pre-tax dollars that you've been able to save through some kind of mechanism, being a company 401k or an IRA that I've created myself post after, or a 401k from an old company that I rolled over into an IRA. How am I doing there?
You're doing really well. I think let's just kind of go down that path a little bit more. So whenever you are doing retirement planning, there's pre-tax money and then there's post-tax retirement accounts. Yeah. Pre-tax would be things like a 401k or a traditional IRA. So, and then on the post-tax side, that would be your Roth IRA. And there are some forms of a Roth 401k. It's just not as common there. So on the Roth side, that means that you've paid the taxes, and then you take what's left over and then you contribute into the Roth IRA. And that's really powerful because at that point, then it can grow tax-free and you don't have to pay taxes on it on the way out as well. As long as, you have to wait until you're past 59 and a half. On the pre-tax side, you defer the taxes. So it's a write-off basically for you. And then it grows tax deferred. And then you do need to pay the tax bill at the end when you actually distribute the money to yourself. And so that's just kind of, 401ks or traditional IRAs. Those are the pre-tax ones. Roth IRAs or anything Roth is the post-tax. Now, within either of those buckets, you can invest in a number of different assets. The reason why it's so not so well known is because the big brokerages don't offer real estate. And they don't offer real estate because it is complicated. And it's complex, and they don't need to do it, and they don't want to do it. And so your big, retirement account providers, Fidelity, you will never see Fidelity offer you to buy a single family rental property because it just doesn't fit with their model, but you certainly can. And so what you need to do is you have to work with somebody different than a big brokerage house. You can't work with Fidelity or Schwab or any of these well-known ones. You need to work with a self-directed custodian. And a self-directed custodian has a different suite of assets that they are set up to serve for your retirement account. You still could invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds inside a self-directed custodian's account, but you likely wouldn't. You would go to a self-directed custodian so that you could invest in a JWB turnkey rental property or private lending or really any type of
Or Bitcoin.
or Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Sure.
you can put whatever you want in. You can put like precious art in there if you want, right? Like stuff like that.
There are some
I don't wanna
limitations.
get
First of all, I'm not an accountant, so you should take this and you should go and do some more due diligence. And especially when we're talking about using a self-directed custodian, they're wonderful. They're going to know more about what you can and can't invest in, but the list of what you can't invest in is actually quite small.
Got it. Got it. So you go to this custodian. I actually did this last year for the first time, finally.
Yeah.
Right after the Not Your Average Investor Summit, right? Our friends from New View Trust were there. So I set up an appointment with Tabitha. I think it was like $350, $400 or something like that.
Yep.
And basically, you open this account and now I am literally allowed to transfer. I'm allowed to transfer my savings right now. I'm an entrepreneur. So like I can put a certain amount of money a year in there.
Right.
And then as that money grows, I'm able to now either lend it to JWB, or if I have enough money, I can buy a rental property within it.
Yes.
Let's talk about how do you buy the properties in it, right? Like there is you can buy cash, but you can also get loans in there. Can you kind of explain?
Yes.
About that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and when you're going to buy a single family rental property, you come to a provider like JWB and let's just assume that you're working with a turnkey company. We won't get into how it can be a little bit more difficult for that. But let's just say that you're a JWB client and you come to us and you say, hey, listen, I want to buy in my retirement account. We work in conjunction with Tabitha. New View was actually acquired by a company called Inspira.
True, that's
Inspira.
correct.
So
Yeah.
it's actually Inspira now. New View Inspira, same company. I'm a client of them. And we would work in conjunction. At the end of the day, what's going to happen is they're going to help you have your retirement account take title to the property. So let's say that you wanted to buy your next property. It wouldn't be Pablo and Martha buying the property. It would be Pablo's retirement account actually taking title to the property. The rest of it is quite simple. All of the money that goes to purchase the home comes from your retirement account by way of the custodian, because it is very important that you never touch your retirement account money. There has to be a third party. And Inspira or whatever custodian you would be working with would serve that purpose. They handle all the paperwork. They make sure that you never touch the money and that it's documented well. And then at the end of the day, JWB works with you to make sure, and through Inspira, to make sure that all of the money that comes from your account, your retirement account, and comes from JWB goes back to that retirement account. Correct. It never goes to you personally. Yeah. That's very, very important. So you do need a third party. It doesn't have to be that company, Inspira, that we talked about. It could be a number of them, but it does have to be
a couple here in the chat that people use different ones.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use, it doesn't have to be one, but you just do need to make sure that they are a self-directed custodian that handles real estate or this type of a transaction.
Yeah, and they're really not financial advisors. They really are just a custodian. Their job is to ensure that, hey, this money is being handled the right way when you do it. You pick your own investments, you do your own moves, but they're the ones that are essentially like touching it, making sure that it goes in the right thing, and they're they're vouching for that.
Exactly.
Right. Something to note about these accounts. You said it a second ago. All the money has to stay inside the account. How does that change the consideration for like purchasing a property?
Well, we always need to make sure you're set up to have the proper reserves, but it is even more important that you have the proper reserves set up when you're buying in your retirement account. And the reason is because if you get into a situation where you have a major expense and you don't have that amount of money in your retirement account, you may be in a place where you physically can't contribute any more money to that retirement account. And if you get into a situation where you need to fix something in a rental property and you don't have the money in your retirement account and you've already reached your contribution limits for that year, you physically can't contribute to that account, that is a bad situation. Yeah. Because you then can't fix what needs to be fixed. That means that your resident can't be taken care of. That probably means that resident moves out. That probably means that you're not collecting rent and there's physically nothing you can do. So I don't say that to scare you. I say that just to make sure that to make sure that you're prepared and you leave enough reserves there. Yeah. It's not hard to understand how much reserves you need. It depends on the number of assets that you have and whatnot. JWB would work with you to kind of help you set that up correctly and with the right amount. But at the end of the day, it's critical to make sure that you have those reserves set aside there, even more critical than if you're buying outside of your retirement account.
Got it. So Bobby Montgomery is asking, do you have to provide a full amount of the property or just down payment? And then he's got another question after that. Let's talk through that, GC. If you're to buy it cash, you still also need reserves.
Yes, you do need reserves when you buy it cash or when you're buying it with financing. We can get into financing in just a second. I mean, you're going to need reserves either way because there are contribution limits for your retirement accounts. And if you hit that limit, you physically can't put any money in there. And it's not like you can just say, oh, well, Pablo's retirement account owns the property, but Pablo has a couple grand that he needs to pay. Yeah. You can't pay it from yourself personally to benefit your retirement account's property. So
that being said, you can also buy with a loan inside the account, right? It's called a non-recourse loan. And talk us through the non-recourse loan. What do we need to know about that?
Yeah.
So Bobby, the answer is you can buy it outright or you can buy it with a loan. Greg's going to explain the loan.
Exactly. So it's just a different type of loan product. It's called non-recourse. And what that simply means is most bank loans have recourse. That means that if you don't pay the bank back, not only are they going to take your property, but they're going to put a derogatory mark on your credit, which will prevent you or limit you from being able to make future purchases for a period of time. So the recourse is going after your credit if you don't pay the bank back. Well, in this case, when you are buying in your retirement account, you are not your retirement account. Your retirement account does not have a social security number. So if your retirement account owns a property and then takes a loan out and doesn't pay the bank back, the bank takes the property, but they can't go after the social security number of the retirement account. There's nothing there. So this is a special type of loan that certain banks, a very small number of banks have, which is called a non-recourse loan. Ultimately, this is a riskier loan for the bank to give because they can't go after you personally for it. And so the rates and the terms are different, but this can be a great opportunity for you to grow the returns within your rental property, within your retirement account through rental properties by leveraging. And so you can get that. It's called a non-recourse loan.
Excellent. So that's the non-recourse loans. The rates are different than regular loans. Talk to me about down payments and like right now, I know that we talk a lot about like a 25% down payment, 30% down payment, maybe even 20% down payment if you have enough passive income to like make up for that stuff. Is the down payment about the same in a non-recourse loan?
And think about it from the bank's perspective now. The banks don't like to take properties back anyways, but they definitely want to ensure, in this case, if it's a little bit riskier for them, they want to make sure that if they take the property back, they are not going to lose. And so what they do is they require a higher amount down. So typically you're going to put about 50% down, 50. You'll need to put 50% down when getting a non-recourse loan. As you mentioned, outside of your retirement accounts, it's quite common to get 25%, 30%, maybe 20% down. So you'll put a much higher down payment down within your retirement account in order to get a non-recourse loan. You're also going to pay a higher interest rate. Interest rates, I checked before coming on the show, about 8.5% is what interest rates are for the non-recourse products that we work with clients.
Oh, okay. It's cool. Speaking of non-recourse products, Mike Foster asks, does JWB have any non-recourse lenders in your partner network?
Yes, absolutely. Just reach out to the team and we'd be happy to set you up, Mike.
Yeah, and we're explaining all this stuff on the show for JWB clients like myself. All you really need to do is go to chatwithjwb.com, set up a call with JWB. They handled this whole thing, right? Like they will introduce you to the approved non-recourse lenders that know how to carry this forward. They can introduce you to a self-directed IRA custodian, all the different things, because this is a turnkey white glove service, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Kambiz Riazi says, I've had to add non-retirement money to the account since I did not have reserves. What are the consequences? Do you know that?
So Kambiz, so it depends if you can add money to your retirement account. You just have to make sure it's within the contribution limits. And so contribution limits are dependent on which year you were in. They change each year, and then also changes on your age. You get to contribute a little bit more if you're a little bit older as well. So what I would recommend is that you talk to a CPA or talk to a professional to help you understand what tax consequences there are. Hopefully what you contributed was within the contribution limits, and then you're fine. Yeah. If you contributed more, they usually don't let you do that. But if you did, or if you used non-retirement funds to benefit your retirement account properties, you might have some consequences there. So I would encourage you to reach out to a professional on that one.
Got it. Richard Drennan asks, how are minimum obligated distributions handled once one hits that age?
Yeah, it's a great question. Required minimum distributions is what we're talking about. And as you get into your into your 70s, that's when the government basically says, hey, this vehicle that we provided for you is awesome, but we're going to have to start taxing you.
Time to give me a piece.
Yeah, exactly. And so those are required minimum distributions. You can do this through effective tax planning. And so the good thing is for many folks, you have many years to start thinking about this. We start to make sure that you have those funds inside your retirement accounts. For most of our clients who are getting to that age, they've been our clients for many years. They've built up a significant amount of capital inside their retirement accounts. And then we just help them effectively plan, of course, with an actual CPA, with somebody who is a professional when it comes to planning for required minimum distributions. But we just make sure that the cash is there for you. And then you figure out what your required minimum distributions are. We make sure that the cash is there within your retirement account. We start to plan for years in advance, and then you're able to, of course, hit those required minimum distributions.
There you go. Anonymous attendee asks, how would, by the way, I no longer do the French thing because now we have a resident French person.
Oh, yeah? You don't want him to have friends?
Anonymous attendee from France.
Well, don't do it that way. If your heart's not in
That's
it. That's
how I speak French. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So how would these properties purchased through retirement accounts be passed on to beneficiaries?
How would these properties purchased through retirement accounts be passed on to beneficiaries? I don't really think it changes as far as being passed on to beneficiaries, but you're making me question myself as I'm answering this. So, why don't I write that question down
We got the notebook
and get you the real answer? But we do need to know your name, or I guess we could just say anonymous attendee. If you're bold and you'd like us to answer it on a future show, let us know your name and thank you for the question. I'll write that one down.
Right on. All right. Speaking of a name, Il Maestro John Williams says, can you buy down the interest rate of a non-recourse loan? Il Maestro is clearly talking about the JWB incentive in place right now, the $17,000 that you're offering in incentives that buy down people's rates these days to a 5% when you're doing conventional. Does that apply in non-recourse loans?
You have to use a specific product in order to be able to see the incentive that JWB has. That's where we're buying down that interest rate to 5%. So the non-recourse product is not the product you need to use. So this incentive would not be apples to apples comparison if you were going to buy through a non-recourse product. And that's just simply because there's one product. It's a DSCR product that's not available inside your retirement account. However, you still do get the maintenance credit incentive, which would be that $4,000 to $6,000 incentive. That's there regardless of whatever product you need. But John, if you do want to take full advantage of the incentive while it's still here, and what is this? Today's June 10th.
I think about 1 o'clock.
Well, I was looking at the date on my watch. I see it there. We're gonna wrap it up about 1:04. It's 1:03 right now.
A text message.
We're gonna be wrapping it up in the middle of this month. So if you do want to take advantage of it, it would be outside of the retirement accounts to get the full incentive.
That being said, incentive notwithstanding, can you buy down points in a non-recourse loan?
You can, yeah. I haven't thought much about that lately, but yeah, you can.
Okay, you can. There you go. That reminds me of something you said with the DSCR part of it. I believe Bobby Montgomery had a question. Do you offer DSCR loans to go in your retirement fund? Sounds like a no. You can't use a DSCR loan inside a self-directed IRA.
We are exploring that possibility. There may be something, but as of right now, it would not be possible. But it is something. It's on our radar. I think Bobby might know that might be a possibility. We're exploring it at the moment.
Okay, go Bobby. Well, a little peek behind the curtain for you. Cecile Jamais says, what if you do not have enough in your retirement account and split the purchase of a property, X% retirement, Y% personal account? I have ran into a lot of challenges with confusing and conflicting IRS codes. Can you speak to this?
Yes, you can do that, but it is complex and you do need to make sure that you set it up correctly. We do have clients that have been able to purchase a property that is half funded by their retirement account and half funded by their non-retirement accounts, their personal funds, let's just call it. It is critical that you set it up the right way. It's critical that your turnkey provider understands this as well and makes sure half of the money goes to those two accounts and half the money is received. So you don't have to be concerned about it. You can definitely do it. But again, proceed with caution. Make sure that you're setting it up correctly.
This feels like a good time to talk about partnering to do this, right? You were like, hey, let's make sure we talk about what I do with my kids here. Tell me about partnering with people.
Well, so I love this story that I share about how I've been able to bring my kids who are 12 and 10 into investing. And you don't have to have a lot of money to get started investing in real estate. That's why when people say to me, you know what, I'd really love to get started, but I don't have the money. What's my response?
That money is the easiest part.
Money is the easiest thing to get started, or money is the easiest thing to overcome in order to get started. It just doesn't feel that way. So here's a good story. You know, my kids have retirement accounts. They've earned income. They're little entrepreneurs themselves, and so they have very small retirement accounts. And, you know, when you think about the opportunity to partner with folks, this is a way that you may have a small amount here in a retirement account. Somebody else, maybe you have a kid who has a small retirement account or whatnot. You can partner retirement accounts up. You can partner retirement accounts up with you and your non-retirement accounts, or you can put all retirements. You can do these really wonderful things. So story I'll share with you is, you know, what I do with my retirement accounts, the money that I can't lend to JWB, what I do is I find other real estate partners in town and I lend that money out to those real estate partners. And I package my retirement accounts up with my wife's retirement accounts, and we'll do some private loans. And let's just say that somebody needed $100,000. Well, my kids, I would love to get my kids earning, you know, 10% on their money as well, but there's no way that they have enough money to be able to lend they don't have $100,000 in their retirement account, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, many years ago, I said, well, that's okay. How can we overcome this? What I could do is I could take, you know, let's just say that I had, you know, $80,000 in my retirement account. Let's say that, you know, my kids each had $10,000 in their retirement account, which is not real. But let's just say that I had that amount. What I could do is do an 80% mortgage, 10% of the mortgage be owned by my kid and my 10% be owned by the other kid, and package it together to do one private loan of $100,000. And so whatever dollar amount you have, as small as it is, you could package it with another amount of retirement account funds and then create an opportunity for everybody to be able to earn, you know, 10% in this example or whatever through private lending. You could do this through private lending. You could do this through owning a rental property together. You really can do a whole lot of stuff if we just start thinking beyond, I don't have the money. You can start to think about maybe partnering and packaging even within your family members.
You bring up the kid story because it's awesome and it's your kids, but you can really do this with anybody, right? Like 3 people in this chat right now that each have like 40 grand and inside of an IRA can say, let's all package this together and go buy a rental property. The risk is you better be cool with that person for a long time because you're going to own this asset. So like you bring up family because they're going to be in your life, but you can do it with any partner. It's just you want to think about the idea that this is a long-term investment, right?
100%. It's a little bit of a longer quote unquote marriage, right? When you're owning an asset like a rental property. So that's something to be considered. On the lending side, you know, it's a little bit easier because your notes are short term, you know, so if it's not your children or somebody in your family, it might be a little bit easier. But you don't want to know, this is the strategy that I used even within like friends and family members in the beginning to raise private lending dollars for JWB. And my dad can attest to this. Big Papa's in the audience here. You know, one of the things we would do is he'd be like, you know, man, he's been lending to JWB for a long time. He has been doing that. And he'd say, you know what, I've got a friend, or, you know, I've got a family member, maybe not like a close family member, but an extended family member who's been hearing about what you've been doing, Greg. They really want to get started, but they just don't know how to get started, and they're a little bit afraid to take the first leap. And so, you know, my dad would say, hey, you know, cousin Stu, do you want to get in on this next private loan that I'm going to do with Greg? And my dad and my second cousin would go 50-50 on a loan. And what we
Sounds
found,
like this is a real person.
yeah,
Cousin Stu.
Cousin Stu, yeah, yeah. And he would say, and it became this like team building environment too. And my cousin Stu and my dad would be together on a loan, and it was a great way for other people to kind of get involved, but not feel like they were on an island, because it's quite risky it is perceived to be risky to start to do private lending if you're just not familiar with it. So it was a cool way to bring a lot of friends and family into the business, and, you know, and kind of tag team and partner up that way.
Good for you, cousin Stu. Good job. All right, that's cool, man. Interesting. There is a question here. Richard Drennan. You know, I love our community because they ask the best questions.
Yes.
Like I have a whole show outline, and I've completely come off the show outline because the questions are basically getting asked here and you're able to do it, right? Like this is why this show is so much fun. Richard Drennan has exactly what was next on my show outline. Is using a retirement account to purchase properties mean you lose a few profit centers? You see, explain the 5, right? So if you're new to the show, before Greg takes a half an hour to explain this, there's 5 profit centers in rental property investing. There is cash flow, there's appreciation, which is the biggest piece of the pie, there's tax savings, there's debt pay down, and then there's inflation hedging. And then MVP Lee said, you lose tax savings, but that's not necessarily true. You don't lose it, but it affects it differently, right, GC?
Yeah, we just need to talk through it.
Yeah.
Lose, not lose. Let's just kind of talk about what's happening here. So of your 5 profit centers, tax savings is one that you definitely get when you're buying it outside of your retirement account. But let's start there and say, why are we so excited? Because when you get the tax savings we're talking about, what we're saying is that you have all of the write-offs for all the things that you spend money on, like property taxes, insurance, and property management and fees like that. You get to write it off, so you don't pay income on that. You only pay taxes on what the income that's left over. Well, you also get this beautiful depreciation write-off, which means whether or not you spend money on something breaking in the house, you get thousands of dollars that you get to write off, which basically take that rental income that you earn and it just offsets it. And so what you're left with is deferring paying the taxes until way later on. And what I just described is outside of your retirement accounts. But that's why we love those tax savings. That depreciation basically ensures that you're going to defer paying taxes on the income that you have. Well, if we now go into inside of a retirement account, we need to think about what's the end result that we're looking for. The reason we're so excited about that depreciation outside of your retirement accounts is because it gets us to this tax deferred place. Well, when you're investing inside your retirement accounts, it could either be pre-tax, which means your taxes are deferred, or it could be post-tax, which means you don't pay taxes on it, but you're already there. You are already to that tax deferred status. And so, no, you don't get to take depreciation again when you're buying it inside your retirement account, but you're already there. You're in the tax deferred status, which is one reason why we love investing in rental properties inside our retirement account. So sort of do you lose it? Do you not? It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you get it by simply investing inside your retirement account.
Got it. So you do get tax benefits because you're investing inside your retirement account. When JWB presents their Pac-Man chart and you see how home price appreciation is the Pac-Man and you see all the other profit centers, the Pac-Man has one less tooth because it's not included in there because you're getting the tax savings and another side of it, right?
Exactly.
Got it. That's all you have to say.
Okay.
All right, here we go. John Bradford says, what kind of money is needed for a DSCR loan? I'm not really sure what that means by that question.
I think he's talking about a down payment. And generally, rule of thumb is kind of around 25% right now based on the rates. It can go up to 30%. It can go a little bit lower. It is possible. So just kind of think maybe around 25 or maybe 30% right now.
Sweet. The patriarch of the first family, Ken Moline, says, shouldn't your reserve account in if you're going to invest in your retirement account, be large enough to cover catastrophic losses like a fire, earthquake, or hurricane or something like that?
Well, you do have insurance on these homes. Yeah. So to cover the deductible that would be required if you had a catastrophic loss makes sense to me for sure. So you would want to make sure you have enough for that. But for even beyond that, I think you're going to want more than just what the insurance deductible would be because depending on the size of your portfolio, if you have homes that move out, when that happens, you're going to need to spend a few $1,000s putting the home back into great rental shape. And there will be some, depending on if you have debt, a non-recourse loan on the property, you might have those months where you still need to make those payments while the home is not rented and being re-rented. So this can easily add up. And what you don't want to do is get into a situation where you don't have the ability to handle that. What happens if you have, 3 homes inside your retirement accounts? What happens if all 3 of them turn at the same time?
Yeah.
Right. So we need to go through those scenarios with you ahead of time and make sure that we keep even more reserves inside your retirement accounts for the what ifs in life.
Yeah.
Outside of your retirement accounts, we still go through those what ifs, but the ability to pull capital from your personal bank account to take care of the what ifs lessens the need for as much reserves.
That makes sense. As you're saying this, I'm thinking, man, this is the difference between what we call not turnkey, fake turnkey, and a totally vertically integrated turnkey provider, right? Like what I'm hearing is that when you are helping people invest in these homes and when you're selling these homes, your team, based on it being in your retirement account, goes through a very different process of educating you and vetting you and getting you prepared before you actually go through this transaction.
Yes, and we also have the support of that self-directed IRA custodian as well. They bring a wealth of knowledge and experience as well, and so you're supported from all angles to make sure that when you get into this the right way within your retirement account, you're set up for success today and for the full market cycle that you intend to hold it.
Awesome. Sounds good. So you can do that by going to chatwithjwb.com and pick a time, and you can have all these questions done. And first they're going to ask you like your why. Then they're going to like make sure that you understand the asset class. I assume that that's when you kind of talk about this, and then you build a plan. So it's not like a rush, right? So like if you have questions about this self-directed IRA, does it work for you? Just go to chatwithjwb.com. That's what this team does. It's a free consultation. Get you figured it out.
There you go.
Right. All right. We got a couple questions here that are about, we mentioned private lending inside of a retirement account. So John Moran is curious, are you looking for private lending? Are you doing private lending these days?
Yeah, as a developer, we're always raising money. So John, if you're interested in learning more about our private lending program, you can just reach out to our team.
And Stevie B is interested. He says, what's the current minimum to do private lending to JWB these days?
Oh, I think it's about 50,000.
About 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think but I would encourage you to reach out to the team, and it's for current. We do have to have a pre-existing relationship with you for private lending. And so if you're a current client, you'd like to explore private lending, reach on out. We'd be happy to talk to you about it.
Got it. Shaniqua Edwards, new name. Welcome to the show, Shaniqua. Good to have you. If you buy in your personal name cash, can you partner with a retirement account for a renovation?
If you buy in your personal name with cash, can you partner with a retirement account for a renovation? I think that there's a way that you could structure this, but I think it'd be different than what you're suggesting. You can't just partner with your retirement account to like get a loan in order to help a property that's owned inside your name personally.
Yeah.
If you wanted to basically tap into the capital that you have in your retirement account to assist with the purchase of the asset, you'd have to set it up a different way in the beginning. And again, guys, this is me as a real estate investor. I'm not a CPA. I'm trying to help here, but I would say talk with a professional before doing anything that I'm talking about here. But to me, what would make more sense is if you just split the asset and owned it as a partnership between yourself personally and the retirement account.
Oh, so you can do that too.
Yeah, you can do that.
Partner with yourself.
You can partner with yourself. Yes. So that would probably be the way. But what you do not want to do, Shaniqua, is basically take a loan or kind of use retirement account funds to assist in the investment of something that you own personally. You would need to set it up, percentage ownership right off the bat. Maybe your retirement account owns 20% of the asset and you personally own 80%. Something like that makes more sense. But please talk to somebody who specializes in this. Let this be the beginning of the thought process, not the end of it for you.
Yeah, Shaniqua says, understand. Thank you. You're welcome, Shaniqua. Great question. Love having you here on the show. Hope you make it a habit. That was pretty all-encompassing, GC. I feel like I was ready to like do this whole thing with an outline, and then everybody just asked the questions. I don't even know why I'm here. The community can just do my job for me. Just let you answer questions.
Well, it's just, man, our community is awesome, and especially for a topic like this, it tends to be one that's a little bit more exciting, I think, and kind of misunderstood. So, thank you guys for bringing these questions. It makes our job that much easier.
So, just full summary. Yes, you can invest directly inside of your retirement accounts. What you need to do is set up a custodian. Self-directed custodian. At that point, all you need to do is work with a vertically integrated provider that can help you through the whole process. It can help you understand the reserves you need and kind of like the loan amounts and all these different things. JWB does that. You can go to chatwithjwb.com. They can help you understand the whole process before you even look at a house or anything like that. So like if this is something that you're interested in, there's many ways to skin the cat in real estate. You guys know all of them. And if not, you are just like one notepad away.
There you go.
So let's go to chatwithjwb.com. Again, I want to thank the community for being here. Next week, it is time, baby.
Oh, that's right. I can't wait.
It is time. What's happening next week, GC?
That is when we get to do the Q2, Q3 quarterly market update. I have been working on this one more than any quarterly market update ever in the history of doing this show.
Yeah.
I am, as much as I've worked to put it together, I'm thrice as excited about it. How about that?
I
Huh?
like that, I like that.
I'm super excited to bring it to you guys. I think this is a time when we really, really need data and perspective. Put a ton of data together, and really just, I think, bringing a perspective that is different than what's out there. And I hope it will provide so much value to you all. So I hope that you'll join us next Tuesday.
So if you're new this week, you are just in time for what we call the granddaddy of them all. Next week, we'll get 150, 180, 200 people on the show because everybody around comes to listen to this. It becomes the most listened to podcast that we publish every single quarter. It's the most well-attended show that we do every single quarter. And yeah, it's going to be great. My team has been working on how to like post-produce this into like a magazine style thing. I don't know if I was supposed to tell everybody, but I like to have loose lips on the show. And I also want to give a shout out to MVP Lee who joined us. I don't know if he checked in earlier, but he's here.
Yeah.
From South Beach. He's been hanging out in South Beach this
Love
week.
that.
Sergio Preto. I was wondering if he'd show up because you got that.
Hey,
You got the
Sergio, I
Go
thought of you
Gators.
this morning, baby. Go Gators.
Sergio Preto. Good to have you. Tomorrow we have a Fortune Builders and a JWB webinar.
We do. This is a busy week again. Tomorrow we'll be speaking to our Fortune Builders friends. So if you're a member of the Fortune Builders community, can't wait to join you tomorrow when we do a call dedicated to you all. And then Thursday, you know who I'm speaking with on Thursday?
Who are we speaking of?
Inspira.
Inspire.
Yeah, Inspira asked me to come and speak to the Inspira audience as well.
Self-directed custodian, you're speaking to their audience on Thursday.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why are Inspira and you such good partners? What do they see in JWB as the reason why they're always all in on our community and our events?
Yeah, it's such a complementary business model. Their biggest challenge with their clients is once people build up the courage to invest and create a self-directed retirement account, the challenge for them is what assets do they get to invest in? How do we make sure that that money is just not sitting? And so when there's a company that can basically provide this white glove service to take your retirement account and put it to work very quickly like we can at JWB, that's why one reason we have such a strong partnership with Inspira.
You don't want to do this if you don't have the right partners, if you don't have great advice, if you don't have people looking out for you that can control the experience long term, because this is more than a transaction. It's a long-term investment that you're going to be in for 10 years to make it work. And that's the value of a vertically integrated team that understands that the property is like the last part of the equation. The meat of it is the experience long-term. That's JWB. Go to chatwithjwb.com if you want to be part of that experience, be clients like myself and like many people here on this call. GC, any pieces of advice before we move on here?
Don't be average.